Hi, I'm Amy, the author of Fingerprinted Hearts, which comes out June 26th, and I'm so excited. To celebrate the release, I am here to read for you one of my favorite scenes from the book. Kevin was not, Penny realized with dismay, the hottest member of the band. She examined him critically from her spot amongst drunk revelers. He was second. Maybe. It depended on if you preferred blondes or brunettes, but Enrique, the gorgeous bassist from Spain, definitely took first. The song ended with a bang, and the audience erupted into cheers. He's pretty sexy, Natalie commented as Enrique leaned to announce they'd be taking a quick break. I know, he's from Spain. Kevin is? It took Penny a moment before she realized what Natalie meant. No, she said, flushing. I thought you meant Enrique. The truth was, something that felt a lot like a jello shot had been sliding around in her stomach since they got there. She had watched Kevin as hard as she could, looking for every flick of his hair, joke with his bandmates, and solo he had written himself. She had found them all, things that normally made her squeal along with the other fans, but tonight she remained unmoved. I think I've gone to too many of these things, Penny remarked to Natalie over the sound of the newly babbling crowd. It had been so much fun back in the beginning, when she had told everyone who would listen, I'm with the band. They had fewer original songs back then, so Kevin would be sure to throw a couple of Penny's favorite covers into each set list. Maybe that was the problem. All their most recent stuff was so depressing. She remembered the first song he'd ever written for her. She had just been to the mall and had proudly returned with new guitar strings for Kevin, and the right kind to boot. She had been boasting about her superhuman purchasing skills when Kevin caught sight of something else in her shopping bag. What's this? He had asked, pulling out the massive brown wool. No! Penny had shrieked, but it was too late. New coat in his hands, Kevin went right for the price tag and let out an incredulous whoop. It was on sale, Penny had cried, diving on top of him and trying to wrestle the coat away. They had both been laughing as Kevin played keep away with her new coat, teasing her by listing all the other things she could have bought with that money. A plane ticket, a train ticket, a Penny's insane ticket. He had started to hum, and that had turned into the first. The girl in the coat had been an early fan favorite, and Penny had blushed and laughed every time the crowd sang, the silly little girl, the giddy little girl, the pretty little girl with the expensive coat. He hadn't played that one in a while. Keeping her head down so Kevin wouldn't see her, Penny pushed through the mass and out the side door. The air, although too cold, felt good. Crowded rooms could bring Penny almost to the point of fever. Her cheeks grew pink and her head would start swimming as the noise and people closed in around her. Now, the cool and silence of the outside alley pulled her temperature and her heart rate back from the edge. A shiver ran up her spine. She had underestimated the March night and neglected to bring a coat. If Kevin had seen her, he might offer her his. Then again, he might not. Kevin wasn't always good at telling when Penny needed to be warmed. But tonight she was glad for the chill on her skin. She hummed the refrain from the last song played and leaned against the cool bricks of the wall. It wasn't until her fingers grew numb and her cheeks started to sting that she reluctantly decided to return indoors. She pulled away from the wall and turned her head in, but was stopped by a flash of Kevin's dark hair in the corner of her eye. She froze. Should she greet him? Or could she slip back inside unnoticed? If he spoke to her, she'd become the Penny he knew. She'd smile, tell him he was great, laugh a little, maybe act drunk. He'd give her a theatrical kiss, then she'd return to the oppressive crowd. She wanted to stay cold and dark Penny for just a few moments longer. Kevin wasn't looking. Penny, to her relief, felt a twinge of resentment. She suddenly wanted nothing more than their silly and loving routine, and was opening her mouth to call out to him when Caddy slipped out the side door. Penny shrank back against the bricks. Caddy was luminescent under the floodlights that shone down from the door, and her breath came in small, visible puffs. She rummaged around in her pocket and slid something out. Penny leaned forward, straining her eyes to see what it was. The effort nearly made her top over, and she steadied herself with a frozen hand, hoping her almost fall hadn't made any noise. She looked again, just in time to see white paper flashing in Caddy's fingertips. It was an envelope. Kev, it's freezing, Caddy complained as she handed the envelope to Kevin. Stop smoking so you can take your breaks inside. Kevin took the envelope from Caddy's hands and tucked it inside his jacket. Penny's inside. Kevin had seen her? Penny drew a chilly breath into her lungs. He hadn't acknowledged it. Yes, he had been on stage, but he usually threw her a little something. Caddy pulled out a cigarette case, not meeting Kevin's eyes. She lit up and let out a smoky breath into the alleyway air before answering, "You guys need to talk." Kevin tugged the zipper up the front of his jacket. "It's fine." Caddy shrugged, handed Kevin the rest of her cigarette, and returned inside. Kevin took a couple of drags on Caddy's cigarette before dropping it to the ground. He stomped it out, then slid back through the door from which he had come. The slimy thing that had been squiggling in Penny's stomach reared its head. She leaned over and vomited. Thanks for listening.